And we welcome you into another edition here of Sports Den. I'm Matt Dean here in our studio in Blaine, Minnesota. We've got Super Bowl Sunday coming up right now, less than 2 weeks away. That means in high school sports here at North Metro TV, we are starting to buckle up and gear in, focus in on the playoff push here as we approach section time here in the state of Minnesota. Getting you ready for another busy Sports Den. We're going to catch you up on hockey a little bit later in the show, where our girls teams here in the area, believe it or not, have just a week left in the regular season before the section playoffs begin. We'll catch you up on boys hockey as that's starting to wind down. We've got highlights of both Centennial and Spring Lake Park. Each of our boys and girls basketball teams on that side. Will also close out the show by looking at some high school swimming. We had a cat clash in the pool this week between Blaine and Spring Lake Park. We will start out the show here, headed to the hardwood as we look out on the girls' side, rather a boys' matchup, we should say, between Spring Lake Park at 8-6 and Centennial at 7-7. First meeting of the season. He's lean, he's mean. That's 6'10" junior Aaron Jepson with the fadeaway to make it 4-0 SLP early, and then skilled junior Nolan Myron sidestepping Max Johnson to a three. We've already seen Myron create his own shot. How about a dime from Cal Spencer to knock down his second? Max Johnson, maximum effort with a steal off the inbound play. Dreesen, a selfless pass. Kellen Binder makes it 2 points for the Cougars off the giveaway. Sawyer Thompson kicking Cal Spencer. He hits the three. Everybody in red, white, and blue having fun and sharing the basketball. More great passing from the Panthers, and like a D lineman blowing through the A-gap, Jason Eagle gets to the hole. Still a 7-point gap. Marshawn Carlvin showing his burst in the first half with a nice finish. And then Tristan Hansen flipping to Zach Espinoza and one. A 3-point play that cut the lead for the Panthers to 2. A 7-2 Centennial run. Jason Eagle, the big man, showing he can hit from downtown. And then Carlvin with a no-look drop to Binder. Cougars continuing to keep hanging around at single digits. Max Johnson for three here for Centennial, and don't look now, it's back to a one-possession game. Hansen takes flight here for the two-handed jam. It tied it up at 26 all just before the break. Into the second now, Myron, a three-level threat off the handoff exchange, direct hit for the three-pointer. Carlvin amongst the trees finds Jackson Dreesen. He steps into a three, and the Cougars never out of it as they're down by 4. Colin Welch in transition. An 11-5 Panther run would make it a 10-point swing, and then Hansen doubling down to the second flush of the game. You can tell by the mixed metaphors, I'm not much of a gambler. We're on here with Dreesen, a clean look for three, and this gets it back to single digits. Hey, bro, we don't appreciate you popping off like that. That is Jacob Hosfield with a long two from the corner, and a good finish down to the wire. 12 seconds left. Eagle to Jepson. Teardrops good. Panthers by 2, and they hang on for the 1-point win.
We came together collectively. We outfought them, and we just came together.
Yep. Coming into this matchup on a 3-game losing streak, you came out hot with a pair of threes. What got you going?
We just needed to do better. We knew we could have beat every team. We weren't playing defense well. We just had to do better.
Yep. You and this squad last year, you guys suffered a loss last year in the same gymnasium. Did you cater or contribute to that going into this matchup?
Not really, no. I wasn't really a part of that, but we knew we had to get back at them for last year.
All right, then we go 3 days later to Friday. Cougars coming off that close loss to Spring Lake Park. They've dropped 7 of their last 8, and Andover struggling. The Huskies have dropped 6 in a row. Junior Caden Ressler opens up the scoring for Andover on the first possession with a 3 after a 6-5 lead was briefly held by the Cougars. Ressler again wrestles the lead right back. Good passing by the Cougars. Binder to Hansen, and the junior ties it up at 8 apiece. Andover sloppy in transition. Nobody picks up Hansen. He cashes in on the trailer 3. Cougars by 3. Hey, if you're not going to respect this guy, who are you going to respect? Jackson Dreesen, leading scorer for Centennial, couldn't be more wide open. And Dreesen can hit him when he's open. He can hit him when he's got a hand in his face as well. A special night brewing for the senior Cougs with a 10-point lead. Senior Levi Stringy would put one to the twine there for the Huskies from 3. And then junior Eddie Miles, I would walk 500 miles, only needed to shoot it from 15 feet there. It was a 10-point game of the half. Senior Luke Fenton splashed down from 3 there in the second. Dreesen off a Carlvin screen, money, and the seniors heating up. A 12-point game with 14 to play. Stringy with would hit his second three in quick succession out of the break, and then anything you can do, I can do better. Fenton up to the challenge, hits his second three for Andover, but still, the Cougars lead by 13. This Marshawn Carlton kid can really hoop, switches right hand, hoop in the arm. He goes to the foul line for the and one. Cougars down by 7 down the stretch. Dreesen, why not? To get him to 44 to tie his own school record he set as a sophomore. So Centennial comes away with the 86-77 win, a nice bounce back after they lost in that 1-point game to Spring Lake Park earlier in the week. How about Jackson Dreesen, his 4th game of 30-plus, 7th of his career, ties the 44 points he recorded and matches the school record he last set on February 21st of 2023 in Coon Rapids as a sophomore. Dreesen's averaging 24.5 a game as a senior this year. That is 8th most in the state among all scorers in Class 4A, the big school division. A nice game from Tristan Hansen, 22 points to put him to double figures in the 6th consecutive game. He's got 19 or more now in 3 of the last 6 for Centennial. So here's what's happening in the boys basketball landscape in the Northwest Suburban. Spring Lake Park right now sitting in a 6th place position by winning percentage. They started the year 2-1 in the conference. They're 3-4 in their 7 games since the new year. All of that coming in conference competition. Blaine are 5-6 in the league. Their 3-game conference winning streak was snapped Friday by the still unbeaten, the 8-2 rather, Anoka Tornadoes. Centennial 3-6 in the league after their 6-game NWSC losing streak came to an end Friday at Andover. Taking a look at the schedules for our area schools, Blaine 8-7 overall this year. All of our area teams right now are 500 or better. The Bengals, a 4-game winning streak, was snapped Friday by the Tornadoes. They've got 2 home tilts this week, hosting Armstrong and Totino Grace, the multi-time defending state champions in Class 3A. The Cougars are 8-8, wins in 2 of their last 3 following a 6-game losing skid. They've got 13-3 in Anoka at home, and then they're at 3-13, the inverse record. Armstrong this week, both important games out of section number 7 for Centennial. The Cougars, despite that 500 record, are 4-1 in the section, so they can move up, host a home game, maybe even be a top 2 or 3 seed in that group. Closing it out with Spring Lake Park, they're 9-7 after losing Friday at home against Champlin. They've dropped 4 of their last 5, but a chance to turn it around against a couple of struggling schools this week. Coon Rapids Tuesday are 5-10, Elk River just 3-10, 2 of the bottom 3 teams in the Northwest Suburban Conference coming up on that slate for Spring Lake Park. Moving it to the girls' side of the hardwood, we got Centennial at Spring Lake Park, moving it back to last week, Tuesday. The Cougars going for the sweep of Spring Lake Park after they won 63-47 over the Panthers in Circle Pines. Kate Lee, a tenacious defender, showing off her offensive skill with a 3 that made it 5-0. Centennial wanted to get out and run in this one. Amelia Del Medico there. Lila Benke would score here for SLP to break a 14-0 Cougar run to start the game. Junior Sydney Sears hitting one of the 4 first-half threes for the Cougars. St. Thomas commit Autumn McCall had 13 in the first half. SLP had their moments. Freshman Ann Wright coming into her own with a couple of good games back-to-back on North Metro TV. Jalen Bursey Dixon in the bucket after the Cougars led 23-4. The Panthers went out on a 9-4 run of their own to cut it to 10 briefly at 25-15. Benke with a nice turnaround there at a Panther-high 11 points in this game, just 4 in the first half. Another sophomore, Amariana Price from downtown. The Panthers were just 2 of 10 from 3 in the first half. McCall showed off her range in the 3-level scoring ability. It was 42-24 at the half. Del Medico would hit Pater here, one of her 2 3-pointers, and finished with a dozen. McCall to Schmitz, those 2 forwards, both really long and both can really run. That's McCall crashing to the basket there, a 3-point play. And Centennial kind of kept Spring Lake Park at an arm's length. It was a 15-point gap for most of this second half. Lila Benke would find her range from three. That was her first varsity triple. The Cougars would lead by as much as 29 in this game. They roll to the 70-44 victory over Spring Lake Park.
Our transition, we just worked well together. We get the ball up the court. Just a matter of like court vision. I think we see passes really well, and we're able to connect to our teammates. They came on that run, but I think it came down to just our defense. We talked about at halftime just forcing them left, making them shoot harder shots instead of just trying to block everything. So that was successful.
Yeah, you talked about the transition. You and Sydney are both,
Sydney Schmitz, yep.
technically listed as forwards. Like
Yeah.
in modern basketball, like that just means so less. You guys can both play like guards. You can run like guards.
Yeah.
You guys both have like really good connection, it seems like, in transition.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot better over the season. I think just practicing together, we talk more off the court, so that chemistry is gonna transfer over pretty well.
What'd you guys do? What was working well early? What'd you guys do to close strong?
We were just running and transitioning well at the start. They took a little lead, but we just tried to lock in on defense and keep pushing it until we could get back up.
Why is it so hard to defend against, you guys in transition? You have Autumn, you have yourself. Sydney had a big game as well, too. What's so challenging when you guys are playing well like that in transition?
I think we just go as fast as we can and we really push it up, and we always have someone back like Sydney. She was always back there trying to get that basket, and we just see each other really well.
Yeah, so that pressure, that speed from Centennial in transition, the difference in the game. The Cougars forced the Panthers into 19 turnovers in this one. Autumn McCall and Sydney Schmitz combined for 41 of the 70 for Centennial in this game. McCall, the St. Thomas commit, 7th game this season where she scored 20 or more. She entered the game averaging 19 per this year. The Cougars 6 of 18 on threes. They don't shoot the lights out, but a lot of easy twos right around the basket with those transition looks. Lila Benke, the only Panther in double figures. She shot it well, 5 of 10 from the floor. As we mentioned, hit her first varsity three-pointer. Her 2 games this season, the 8th grader who the Spring Lake Park Panthers are really excited about her future. Her 2 games in double figures this year, both have come against Centennial. She had 13 back in a season opener against the Cougars in what was her varsity debut. So we're going to keep following Spring Lake Park. Move ahead to Friday where they traveled at Champlin Park. 3-game skid for the Panthers, and then taking on a Champlin team that had lost back-to-back and 4 of their last 6. Anna Smolich, leading scorer for the Panthers, pretty quiet on Tuesday, capped an 8-0 run to start the game for the Panthers. And then sophomore Tony Ogunlier breaking the drought with a 3 for Champlin. Senior Briar Carr down Main Street to the hole. Rebels responded with a 16-7 run to take a lead. Lila Benke, so good at drawing contact there with the and one. It was 22-20 at the half. Kraus hit that early 3, and they come in bunches. Benke hit her first varsity 3 the other night, hits her second there. Erin Kaluza, she'll lose ya. A strip and score made it a 1-score game. Jalen Bursey Dixon, the alphabet soup. She's wide open off the left wing. And then JBD pouring in threes. Rack them up. Panthers by 5 with 5:50 to go. Big shot for the freshman Brooks Soash here for Champlin. And then Savannah Belongia, an even bigger shot, tied it at 47 with 3:10 left. Belongia, you do Belongia. Her second triple in crunch time sent it to overtime at 51 all. Layla Wynn here slipping past Bursey Dixon. Tough reversal to put the Rebels up by 2. They hang on for the 1-point win. So a tough loss for Spring Lake Park here as they lose this one. We go into the Northwest Suburban Conference standings here in girls basketball. Anoka with a 10-0, still unbeaten record in conference play after they beat the Blaine Bengals on Friday. Maple Grove, don't forget about them, are still undefeated in the conference after they beat Osseo on Friday. They are the #1 ranked team in the state in this week's poll. Centennial, by winning percentage, sit in 3rd with their 8-2 in the conference. They've won back-to-back conference games since the slip-up that they had against Rogers a couple of weeks back. Their only other conference loss on the season came to the #1 ranked Crimson. Blaine sit in 8th by winning percentage. They've lost back-to-back Northwest Suburban Conference games since a win over Spring Lake Park. The Panthers have dropped 3 straight in the league since a win against Armstrong back on the 13th of January earlier this month. Schedules coming up for our area schools. Blaine are at Armstrong on Tuesday. They continue a little road swing on Thursday against Totino Grace. A couple of winning clubs. Will be some tough matchups for Chris Bruce Stewens. Bengals, Centennial in the meantime will turn their attention to Tuesday at Anoka, where tomorrow night they take on the Tornadoes, who have won 6 straight. As you saw, are still undefeated, 10-0 in the conference. They're gettable though. They're 11-6 overall this year. Centennial and this Anoka team are both undefeated in section play. This could be a preview of a section final to go to the state tournament later on this season. Rounded out with Spring Lake Park, the Panthers have now lost 3 straight and 5 of their last 6 since a January 3rd win against Rogers. They play 4-12 Coon Rapids on Tuesday and turn around to face a tough 11-6 Elk River team on the road on Thursday of this week. Moving it over to girls hockey, Centennial Spring Lake Park ranked 3rd in the state right now, and they've got an undefeated record at the top of the Northwest Suburban Conference. It's all but secured as CSLP have head-to-head wins against those 2 teams just behind them, chasing them in the standings. The only team that they haven't faced in the top 4 yet, that's their bitter rivals, the Blaine Bengals, who are 14-7-2 overall. They've got a big head-to-head matchup coming up tomorrow, which is our featured game we will have on North Metro TV in that colossal cat clash. It's rare when you got all 3 North Metro TV schools competing in one game at once. So myself and Bill Hupp on the call for that one tomorrow. Let's take a look at the schedules coming up in girls hockey. The aforementioned colossal cat clash coming up tomorrow night. That's at Fogarty Arena at the North Rink. Blaine are coming off back-to-back shutout defeats, but that's to the 10th-ranked team in the state in Maple Grove and the top-ranked team, maybe the most talented in Minnesota, in the Minnetonka Skippers. Blaine, after they face Centennial SLP, will have their season come to an end in the regular season Saturday at White Bear. CSLP, they had to go to overtime for that last win you see there at North Wright County on the road. That's a section team that Centennial dispatched of very comfortably in the semifinals in sections last year before they fell in the final. They will play White Bear Lake on Thursday, Woodbury on Saturday after that big matchup with the Bengals on Tuesday. Moving to the boys' side of the hockey landscape, you've got the Northwest Suburban Conference, 2 of maybe the most 5 talented teams in the state in this league. Rogers and Maple Grove, both unbeaten in the conference. Blaine sit there down tied for 4th after they were shut out by Maple Grove earlier this month. The only other top team they've got left in the schedule still is Rogers left to play. SLP Coon Rapids are tied for 9th. They've lost back-to-back Northwest Suburban Conference games. They split a couple of non-conference games last week. Centennial down in 10th, beat Anoka, and then lost 8-3 to 4th-ranked Rogers on Saturday at home. They are 2-8 right now in the Northwest Suburban Conference. Sticking with boys hockey, Blaine, a 4-game winning streak for them was snapped against Totino Grace on Saturday with that 1-goal defeat. They've got Andover on Tuesday and a top 5-ranked Rogers team on the road. That'll be a tough one coming up Thursday for the Bengals. Centennial had their 9-game losing streak snapped with a win over Anoka on Thursday. They then let in 8 against the 4th-rated Royals on Saturday. Some tough games coming up as they will have Maple Grove on the road. The Crimson coming off that loss to Shakopee on Hockey Day when they were playing outdoors this past Saturday. And then we'll have Saturday coming up against Armstrong Cooper for Centennial. SLP Coon Rapids, season high 8 goals for them on Thursday against rivals Irondale. That's got to feel good to snap a 4-game losing streak. Elk River at home Thursday, Anoka on the road Saturday to finish out the week for SLP CR. Well, a busy show, as we told you here on Sports Den. You're caught up on hockey, you're caught up on hoops. We'll have hockey section playoffs starting for the girls in just 2 short weeks. Last thing to close the show here, we've got highlights from a cat clash in the pool. Let's take you there here in our final set of highlights here on this episode of Sports Den with Spring Lake Park hosting Blaine. This was on Thursday night at Spring Lake Park's home pool. We start with a 200-yard medley relay. Blaine less than 3 seconds ahead of another Blaine relay team. Ben Carilla anchors the winner, and Blaine take the top 2 spots. In the 200-yard free, Jared Magnuson edges his Bengal teammate Carson Hamill the win. In the 200 IM, junior Isaac Works of SLP with a convincing victory for the Panthers. In the 50 free, Ben Carilla, Maxwell Schuster, Jesse Tverberg, and all Blaine podium. Those 3 guys take the top 3 spots. Carilla with the win. In the diving break, David Mueller of Spring Lake Park would come out on top with the best score in the 1-meter dive. Jonathan Kambata of Blaine finished second, and Owen Scott of the Bengals rounded out those top 3 spots with a 3rd place position. On to the 100 fly, Blaine junior Nathan Ledwith with a 102.94 time, 13 seconds better than his closest pursuer. In the 100-yard free, Nolan Peterson of Blaine 1 second ahead of Ben Carilla. In the 500 free, Benjamin Lamb of Blaine 2 seconds ahead of SLP's Patrick Ketz. You don't see a photo finish like that in that event all too often. Blaine would win over SLP in the 200-yard free relay, led with Schuster, Hamill, and Carilla were the winners in that relay team. In the 100-yard back, junior Isaac Works, he gets the win, a photo finish, 0.3 of a second ahead of Magnuson for Blaine. In the 100 breaststroke, there were a couple of disqualifications. Bryce Tokel for SLP came away with the win. In the 400-yard free relay, Blaine's group of Magnuson, Ledwith, Lamb, and Peterson came out on top. Blaine winners over Spring Lake Park 96-85.
And what is it like in your first year on varsity?
I think it's pretty fun, honestly. Just like, I really like swimming alongside the really fast high school swimmers, so I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, and you are one of those fast guys you're talking about here on the varsity squad, having top performances, finishing 3 of your events in first, 1 of them in second. What is going through your head in those final stretches to help your team into these top wins?
Honestly, just like random thoughts. Like sometimes I just remember my coaches telling me good turns, good finishes, so yeah, just really random thoughts.
Yeah. And when maybe it's an even closer race, are you feeling the heat of that lane next to you, or are you still thinking those random thoughts you're talking about?
No, I definitely feel the heat. I look over, there's this guy just pushing me, and so I just try to push harder.
Yeah. What maybe is different here in your senior year as you continue to have success?
Yeah, so my senior year, it's been a lot of trying to help those new kids, including Lam, even though is so fast. Just being able to swim with some younger kids, you know, if that's middle school and even, you know, underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomore. I think like that part of swimming has been really fun for me, especially this year.
Yeah. And as far as when you look ahead on the end of the season and you might start thinking about the legacy, what do you want to leave behind to these guys as this is your last time to be able to show them your leadership?
Yeah, I think just having to persevere, that's been the biggest thing that I've tried to help some younger swimmers with, just, you know, working through that hard. We had 2 meets this week. We had a meet on Tuesday, and we got another meet coming up on Saturday. So just working through, you know, a lot of hard practices. Got a lot of meets, you know, often. So just persevering really is kind of what I try to leave in some of the younger swimmers.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next on North Metro TV, remember to catch our coverage tomorrow. We've got that colossal cat clash. Centennial Spring Lake Park, 3rd ranked team in the state, trying to tie a bow on a Northwest Suburban Conference championship. Their bitter rivals, the Blaine Bengals, hosting on the North Rink at Fogarty Arena. Myself, Matt Dean, and Bill Hupp on the call for you with coverage starting at 6:55, and that one tomorrow. Wednesday, wrestling action between the Cougars and the Panthers, and then our coverage next week starts on Monday the 3rd, as we've got a girls-boys hoops doubleheader between Centennial and Blaine. Should be some good ones on the hardwood in that one. And that's going to about do it for our show. We mentioned the Super Bowl coming up, a great sports weekend. We also hope you enjoyed your hockey day in Minnesota on Saturday. We didn't have any North Metro TV schools competing in the high school games, but there's too much talent in this area for it not to come up North Metro TV schools in hockey. Of course, you had the girls' NCAA game, the women's game that happened on Saturday. The Gophers beat Bemidji. We had 2 former Centennial Cougars, Lauren O'Hara and Caitlin Gross, and a former Blaine Bengal in Shelby Sandberg competing for the Beavers and the Gophers in that matchup. So lots of Cat Clash talent on display, even though they shut out Centennial, Blaine, and Spring Lake Park out of Hockey Day in Minnesota in Shakopee this year. Our thanks to Charles Brolin, our director, Ted LaRue, Ranthil, Tim Shingen, our great crew here on hand in studio in Blaine, Minnesota. I'm Matt Dean signing out. We'll have another busy week of high school sports coverage coming up. We'll break it all down for you next week right here on Sports Center.